Hello there everybody. I've got a video here of an old machine that I've been restoring. It's around the 40s or 50s. It's an old lathe. It's a Sebastian Streamline. I can't find much information about it, but when I got it from a friend. It was buried in a hill of sand out in California. The guy gave me the best deal you can get on a machine for free. I had to help dig it out of the hill and transport it home, and basically it was a big ball of rust when I got it, but I've pulled it apart, had it in pieces. I'll post some pictures to go along with this of my process getting it restored, but I could use some help identifying it, trying to date it, and even possibly get some parts for it. The saddle cross screw was a little bit damaged. I straightened it out and cleaned the threads up, but it's not the greatest. Well, here it is. So this is the lathe here. I've taken it all apart, taken all the gearboxes apart in the saddle, the cross screw, the top slide, taken the apron apart, all the gears in it were out. The threader gearbox was all apart, all the gears on the main screw were out, all the shift selectors. I am missing this one cover right here, and I might contact Windy Hill Foundry and see if he can cast me another one, just duplicate it. I can send him that one. All the covers for the machine are here. I just haven't got them finished right now. This one's still in red oxide primer, that one's in acid etching primer, and that one I've sandblasted. But the machine's in really good shape. Right now I've got it running on a big 3-phase motor that I got from a friend, and it's just got a 4L belt on it. But so all these gears here were stuck. Everything was rusted. It was basically buried in a hill of sand, and all of these gears were just a pile of rust. I've taken and sandblasted and polished them on a Norton wheel, and I had the spindle out of the machine. It's got Babbitt bearings here, and I've taken and adjusted and shimmed those all back out to the right thickness to where it feels nice and tight. I haven't cut anything on it yet because my chuck is just a big massive ball of stuck. It's rusty. These do turn. They were really stuck before, but I soaked them in oil for a long time, and I finally got them work loose. They do move, but they're really stiff. I need to take it apart, possibly put it in a big vat of evaporust or something like that. Most of what I've been doing has been just manually cleaning, sanding, sandblasting, polishing with a 3M wheel, but I don't necessarily want to do that to the chuck. I think I'm missing a knob right here. This does turn just fine, and this adjusts the tension end to end to get all the slop out of it, but I think there may have been a knob on here. I don't know, it's hard to find pictures of this machine. Like I said, it's a Sebastian Streamline model. The tag is right here on the leg. It's in really good shape actually. And here's the serial number if somebody can help me date it. If you could leave that in the comments, that'd be great. I don't think this is original. Someone probably remanufactured this. If you know the answer to that, let me know. This apron right here was broken. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, right here I've machined out a piece of steel that wraps around the back edge and then hooks in like this, and the half nut runs up and down in it, or the split nut runs up and down in it, and the corner of this was broken off, I think from someone who had tried to take it apart before me. But anyhow, a piece of the casting was missing, so I machined off the end of the casting and put this piece of steel on there and machined it with the right tolerances for the half nut. Everything's nice and tight. And then this here is a clutch. Now, I'm not much of a machinist yet, This is my first lathe that I've actually owned. Well, besides that one, but it doesn't really count. But anyhow, if someone can tell me when you use the clutch typically, that would be helpful. I went online and just got a cheap, BXA. This is a Borstar quick change tool post. The shims and everything are not super tight when it's not wedged, but once you wedge it down, it seems like it'll work fine. The switch on this is a rotary drum switch, and I'm running 3-phase, so I just ran 2 of the wires up here. The other leg can just go straight from the rotary phase converter to the motor, but if you split 2 legs, you can just switch them and change directions, and it seems to work pretty well. My rotary phase converter is a concoction I built up. It's just a big GE motor that I got at auction for $35, and then the controller, it's got a bunch of capacitors and some switches and relays in there that runs on the house. 220 comes from over there, and then outputs 3-phase with this idler motor sitting here running. I'm actually going to kick it on and show you the machine, the lathe running. The tailstock was all stuck. I actually had to drive that out. Had to clean up the end afterwards because of the hammering on it, but ended up getting it apart. So this machine, it's pretty cool. This cover, when you push it up, loosens the belt. Oh, this is a cone machine. I think that's what they call it, is a cone head lathe. This is the original belt that was on the machine, I think. Actually came with it, but it loosens the belt when you open the cover so you can change the belt quickly. It's pretty nice. I think maybe the Heavy 10 does that as well. And my back gear was all stuck, so I got it all adjusted now. Anyhow, here we go. Kind of neat, this machine has an auto off for the cross slide. So if you engage this in the other direction where the cross slide is feeding towards you, when the end of the slide hits this, it disengages the lever and shuts off the auto feed so it can't damage itself. Also, hold on. So, I don't know if you heard me very well, but this is a stop that the end of the crossfeed hits and disengages the gear that runs the cross slide. And I'm guessing that's just to stop it from damaging itself in this direction. The other way it doesn't stop itself, so don't do that. A cool feature about this is that when this selector, which engages the crossfeed this way or this way, depending on which way you put it, this half nut won't go in when that's in gear. So you have to have this in the neutral position, which is right there, in order to be able to engage the half nut. One of the things about this Streamline that I thought was interesting is that I found Sebastian lathes and cone head lathes like this, but not one that has this casting. And it says Sebastian lathe from Cincinnati on it, which I believe is pre-1950. But I haven't seen a Sebastian with this casting. This casting actually almost looks South Bend. So I'm wondering if there was some strange crossover or someone, I don't think anyone made this because it looks like original casting to the machine. But anyhow, any information given the serial number and the estimated date range on this machine would be really helpful. Here I've got a bucket of parts that probably go somewhere in this machine, and maybe we'll actually go through those and see if any of you can identify them. And here I've got a 6-jaw chuck, a cheap one that I picked up online, just eBay. I ordered it with a 2 1/4 8 threaded back plate, but it turns out my spindle is actually 2 1/8 8 thread, which is very uncommon. I think Keith Rucker and Vintage Machinery say that DC Morris actually services these machines. I have not contacted them yet, simply because I'm not in a position to buy any parts yet, but when I come up with some money, I'll get a hold of them and see if they have things like this cover and the cross feed screw. Oh, sorry, finger's going out of focus there. But yeah, it actually seems to be ready to function. Oh, one other question I got. On the back of this machine, on the saddle here, this plate was missing that locks the saddle down to the ways. And I'm wondering, right now I've got these goofy bolts in there because I don't actually ever stock 7/16 bolts in my bolt bin, but now I probably will because everything on this machine is 7/16. But I found these ones that were a little too long, so I just have spacers in there for a minute. But what I'm wondering is, right here in that gap, are you supposed to shim this to where it doesn't bite down onto the ways very well, or are you supposed to have a bolt that has some type of a thread locker on it, or maybe a double nut? You know, put a nut on it and then tighten it down to itself. If you know the answer to that, let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoy the lathe. I'll have you come along with me later.